You're about to see garden fences like you've never imagined, not from expensive stores or fancy catalogs, but made from things most people would throw away. An old ladder, broken mirror, cracked wood? In the right hands, they become a shimmering herb wall or a sunlit mosaic that hums with life. This isn't just DIY, it's backyard alchemy. Stick around, timestamps are included so you can skip to your favorite ideas. And if you've got questions, we're here. Let's build something magical together. One bottle blossom garden wall. When you walk into a garden like this, your first instinct isn't to look for plastic or glass, it's to breathe deeply, to smile, to listen to the quiet hum of life around you. But if you look closer, behind the lush strawberries, the dangling cucumbers, the dancing butterflies, you'll see something unexpected. Trash. Or at least, what used to be trash. Rows of plastic bottles now painted in gentle pastel tones, daisy pink, sky blue, and mint green, have become a storybook fence, hand-decorated with blossoms that seem to bloom even without sunlight. The bottles aren't just ornamental. They're alive, nurturing vines of chili, basil, sweet pear, and tiny tomatoes. They hold soil, water, and dreams. This isn't just a fence. It's a living wall, crafted with care and made to nourish. In another corner, clear and colored glass bottles, once destined for landfills, now rise proudly like glass organ pipes along the garden bed. Turned upside down, filled with soil and seeds, they've become tiny greenhouses for lettuce, thyme, rosemary, and red leaf. They stand like sentinels in the sunlight, sparkling with morning dew, glowing with afternoon warmth. Each bottle tells a story of reuse, of possibility, of quiet transformation. And in the center of it all, a circular border of soda bottles frames a vegetable garden that could have come from the pages of a children's fairy tale. Green beans stretch toward the sky. Passion fruit and cherry tomatoes peek from behind the leaves. Cabbage heads nestle in the soil like soft green roses. And surrounding them, the colorful plastic fencing offers not just protection, but personality, a vibrant heartbeat that pulses with every season of growth. What's magical here is not just the beauty, it's the intention. These aren't decorations for the sake of it. Every bottle is repurposed with purpose. They help structure the garden, elevate the plants, and create vertical layers in even the smallest spaces. They catch the light, direct the rain, and keep pests at bay. And most importantly, they invite life, edible, fragrant, buzzing life, back into the garden. So here's a simple truth. You don't need a big budget to create something extraordinary. You don't need matching pots or fancy fences. All you need is an eye for what could be, and a heart willing to try. Save your bottles. Rinse them. Paint them. Cut them. Hang them. Fill them with soil, seeds, and a bit of belief. Before long, you'll see that even the most forgotten pieces of our homes can become the most beloved corners of our gardens. You're not just recycling. You're storytelling. You're building a place that feels alive, that feeds both your body and your soul. And maybe, just maybe, someone will walk by your garden one day, pause, and whisper, "They called it trash, but I see magic now." Two, rustic crate garden fence. There's something tender and timeless about a wooden crate. Long after its journey of carrying fruits or bottles or forgotten goods, it can find new purpose, not in the trash, but in the soil. In a quiet corner of a backyard, among apple trees and singing birds, old wooden crates have been reborn. They now form the heart and edge of a garden that grows not just food, but feelings. Stacked with gentle rhythm, the crates form a fence, part border, part raised bed, part poetry. They frame kale, red peppers, and basil with calm confidence, like an old farmer holding a basket close to his chest. The wood is weathered, cracked in places, still bearing faded stamps from markets long gone. But here, in this space, it becomes soft again. It becomes alive. Crates are remarkably versatile. You can use them flat, side up, or standing tall. Some gardeners fill them directly with soil and tuck cabbage in their crevices. Others let vines of melon and grape crawl up from within, threading their way through slats, basking in sunbeams that turn green leaves golden. Marigolds bloom at their feet like little suns, while butterflies float quietly above. It's a design rooted in simplicity. You don't need power tools. Just a few crates, maybe from a fruit stand or behind a bakery, stacked and aligned with intention. Place them in an L shape to form a corner bed. Create a zigzag border for a playful rhythm. Leave one crate open, empty, like a frame for a tiny wildflower moment. What makes it magical isn't perfection. It's the way each imperfection is welcomed. A knot in the wood becomes a perch for a bee. A small crack lets time spill through like a waterfall of herbs. Even the space beneath the crates can hold lavender or creeping strawberries, their roots reaching for cool earth below. This kind of fence doesn't ask for money, it asks for imagination. And it gives back tenfold. In the scent of oregano as you pass by, in the crunch of broccoli at harvest, in the soft patter of rain echoing through the crates like a lullaby. When people first see it, they might ask, isn't that just an old crate? But give it time. Let them watch what grows from it. Soon they'll understand. It was never trash. It was always a garden, waiting for someone to believe in it. Three, clay roof herb trellis. Some gardens whisper softly, not with grandeur, but with grace. Along the winding paths of a quiet orchard, the remnants of once-forgotten rooftops find a second life. Clay tiles, their terracotta skins still warm from decades of sun, now rise upright to form curved garden walls and herb-laced trellises. There's a rustic charm in their imperfect edges, in the way they catch the golden hour light like old storytellers remembering summer. In this gentle space, the garden doesn't scream for attention, it invites you to come closer. Parsley and dill peek shyly from the cracks between the tiles. Mint spills over the ridges like a waterfall of fragrance. Above them, strings stretch between wooden posts or bamboo poles, giving sweet peas and zucchini vines a place to climb, reaching, always, toward the sky. Morning glory blossoms trail like delicate lace, while rosemary stands tall, offering both perfume and pride. This idea isn't just poetic. It's deeply practical. Clay tiles, often discarded after renovations, are strong, naturally weather-resistant, and surprisingly easy to repurpose. Use them as a retaining edge to define your garden beds. Stand them vertically to form raised rows that help contain herbs and protect them from erosion. Lean them in gently to build curved borders, softening the structure with life. You don't need perfection. A little tilt, a little asymmetry, it all adds to the charm. Let the soil mound behind the tiles. Plant closely, allowing greens to spill over the top like an overflowing basket. With every rain, the clay breathes. It holds warmth. It keeps the soil cozy and cradles the roots in quiet strength. And sometimes, amid the thyme and marigold, a black cat might curl up beside the stones. Or a pair of doves will land on the archway's edge, watching the vines flutter. In that moment, the garden becomes more than a space, it becomes a story. A slow, sunlit reminder that what we throw away still has the power to hold life. So if you ever find yourself with broken tiles in hand, don't toss them. Lay them down with intention. Frame your garden. Build your own corner of stillness. Because beauty doesn't always bloom from new things. Often, it begins with what we choose to see differently. And from the simplest shard of clay, a garden can rise. Soft, generous, and utterly unforgettable. Four, enchanted ladder planter fence. They stood forgotten once, weather-worn, lopsided, their rungs covered in paint splatters and stories. Old ladders, too tired to climb anymore. But in this garden, they rise again. Not to reach roofs or high shelves, but to cradle life. Here, in the soft grass of a European-style backyard, a row of vintage ladders leans gently under the sun. Each one becomes a vertical garden, a trellis, a planter, a sculpture. Their steps, once meant for boots and hands, now hold terracotta pots and woven baskets overflowing with strawberries, curly lettuce, purple basil, blueberries, and tiny tomatoes that glisten like rubies in the morning dew. Some ladders are left bare in rustic gray. Others have been lovingly painted, butter yellow, sky blue, and soft pastel pink, bringing cheer and personality to the space. Wildflowers bloom at their feet, as if blessing the idea with petals and bees. There's something magical about using ladders this way. They lift the garden skyward. They turn everyday tools into vertical abundance. They create dimension, perfect for small yards, patios, or that forgotten corner where nothing seemed to fit. And best of all, they invite interaction. Children walking past picking berries straight from the step, butterflies fluttering from leaf to leaf, and every pot becoming a new surprise. To make your own ladder garden, begin with what you have, an old wooden ladder, maybe from a shed or salvage yard. Reinforce it if needed. Then let your creativity unfold. Hang baskets on the rungs. Attach pots using brackets or wire. Let vines like grape, passion fruit, or cherry tomatoes trail and twine through the frame. Tuck basil, thyme, or mint in the lower pots where the scent can rise as you pass by. Some ladders might lean in rows, like gates to another world. Others can stand alone, proud and blooming, like sculptures of soil and leaf. The joy is in the imperfection, in how each ladder tells a different story. Some are tall. Some are missing rungs. Some stand side by side like friends at a harvest festival, arms linked with vines and sunflowers. And in the end, you'll find that what was once scrap wood and forgotten structure has become the most charming part of your garden. A place where fruit grows, where butterflies gather, where a little girl with a wicker basket might look up in awe and think, this must be where fairies live. Not bad for something someone almost threw away. Five, tin can fruit wall. There's something delightful about a garden that smiles back at you. Perhaps it's the gentle pastel colors, hand-painted flowers, or the happy imperfections of a recycled tin can now filled with strawberries. Maybe it's the way the wind rustles gently through rows of basil and cherry tomatoes, or how the sunlight bounces off their curved metal bodies like sparkles on water. Whatever it is, this isn't just a wall. It's joy made visible. Once discarded after dinners, stacked in bins, or left behind in pantries, these tin cans have found their second life. And it's glorious. Hung side by side like little lanterns, they now cradle soil, root, and bloom. Their edges softened with art, their purpose rewritten by imagination. There's an old wooden fence, now transformed into a living vertical tapestry. Each can is painted in soft coral, buttercream, seafoam, or lavender, shades that feel like summer dresses swaying in an orchard breeze. Some are adorned with peaches, daisies, or hand-drawn patterns. Others are left raw and silver, reflecting the garden like a mirror to the sky. Tomatoes spill down from above like ruby clusters. Blueberries peek shyly from behind fuzzy mint leaves. Peppers, red, yellow, green, burst upward like firecrackers from each pot. All around them, basil and thyme perfume the air, and butterflies drift lazily from bloom to bloom. In one corner, a child stretches her hand up to pick a cherry tomato, laughing, barefoot, curious. This is the kind of DIY project that anyone can begin. It doesn't need a large space. It doesn't need perfection. All it needs is a handful of cans, some nails or hooks, a bit of paint, or none at all, and a place where sunlight can fall. Line them up on a wooden slat wall. Hang them from a wire stretched between posts. Or tie them to a mesh fence in a gentle zigzag, letting gravity guide the design. Fill each one with good soil, and plant what you love. Strawberries for sweetness, herbs for healing, or even tiny pineapples if you dare to dream. Water gently. Watch daily. Let the wall hum with bees and color. In the end, you'll find yourself smiling too. Because what once was tossed away now holds life. Flavor. Beauty. And perhaps most importantly, a small reminder that the simplest things can carry the most magic when we choose to see them differently. This isn't just gardening. This is aliveness on display, crafted by hand, grown with care, and shared with the sun. Six, glass bottle orchard border. They said it was trash. Empty bottles, forgotten after celebrations. Dusty, mismatched, dull. But someone looked beyond the glass and saw the shimmer of possibility. And in that moment, something magical began. In a sun-kissed orchard, nestled among rows of pear trees heavy with golden fruit, the earth was gently turned. Bottle by bottle, green, amber, cobalt, were pressed upside down into the soil, their necks hidden, their bodies glinting in the light like quiet jewels. A living border was born, not of bricks or plastic, but of memory, reuse, and intention. Inside this glimmering frame, rows of crisp romaine and blushing broccoli now reach toward the sun. Bees hum lazily over kale leaves, and somewhere in the distance, a wind chime rings, soft and clear. The bottles don't just separate space. They define it. They elevate it. And they reflect the sky as though the garden were wearing a crown. In another corner of the world, or perhaps just another backyard, a different shape emerges. This time, the bed is round, like a platter of abundance. Bottles of silver, emerald, and dark glass circle the soil like sentinels of beauty. Their surfaces catch the sun, and between them, cantaloupes stretch on leafy vines, flirting with the edge. Chamomile blossoms peek through with gentle defiance, while butterflies settle on the basil with fluttering approval. Every bottle tells a story. Once discarded, now honored. Once emptied, now full of purpose. And then there's the orchard glade, quiet, dewy, serene. Here, the bottles soften in color. Some are rosy like sunset wine, others clear like spring water, some tinged with soft sea glass green. They surround a bed of cabbages and strawberries, each plant nestled safely within this recycled sanctuary. Rain beads on the bottle rims. A dragonfly skims past. There's a kind of hush the kind you find only in places where nature and care coexist. If you listen closely, you'll realize these gardens aren't just about vegetables or decoration. They're about reclamation, about turning the forgotten into the foundational. And the best part? This isn't reserved for professionals or fairy godmothers. You don't need power tools, expensive wood, or a landscaping crew. Just time, a few saved bottles, a trowel, and a bit of belief that even what's thrown away can become beautiful. So next time you're about to toss a bottle in the bin, hold it in your hands a little longer. See if you can picture it glowing in the garden light. Imagine basil curling beside it, or watermelon vines reaching over it like curious children. Because sometimes, the most enchanting gardens don't come from stores or catalogs. They grow from the things we almost threw away. Seven. Woven basket garden weave. They called it trash. Worn baskets, frayed ropes, driftwood splinters and scraps of fencing left behind by storms. But someone saw more. Along a quiet garden path, a gentle transformation began, not with grand machines or expensive tools, but with a pair of caring hands, a spool of old jute rope, and the belief that even the discarded can hold beauty. The fence began to form, not as a barrier, but as a rhythm, soft curves of woven willow branches and braided ropes that hummed like the edges of a lullaby. Small baskets, some broken, some forgotten, were gently attached along the weave. Into them, life was planted. Bright marigolds peeked out with their citrusy glow. Clusters of fiery chili peppers dangled like ornaments. Tiny vines crept along the edges of the wood, and cantaloupe blossoms curled their tendrils toward the sun. What once was waste now whispered with promise. Elsewhere along the garden's edge, an old hemp rope stretched between poles of weathered wood, some bleached by time, others rough and moss-touched. Tied with looping knots, it held woven baskets in midair, each one a world of its own. Strawberries burst in clusters, wildflowers danced in pink and white, and butterflies, as if summoned by magic, rested lightly on the twine. A child's laughter echoed nearby as small feet skipped along the grass. This garden didn't just feed the body, it fed the spirit. And perhaps the most magical moment of all, a little one pausing by the fence, brushing their hand over chamomile blossoms swaying in the breeze. A goldfinch perched close, unafraid. No words were needed, only that moment, woven from sunlight and soft wind, to remember what matters. Tips for your own DIY garden fence. If you're feeling inspired, you can begin your own woven basket garden fence with almost nothing. No special tools, just love and a little time. Gather old wicker baskets from thrift shops or forgotten storage corners. Use sturdy rope or twine to tie them along a wooden fence, railing, or stakes. Fill them with soil, herbs, and flowering plants that love the sun. And don't worry if it's not perfect, that's the charm. Add trailing vines or climbers like nasturtiums or beans to soften the lines. Even miniature pumpkins or melons can grow from these unexpected pockets of life. Each one becomes a story of renewal, of care, and of joy. Because this isn't just about gardening. It's about healing the space around you, and inside you, using what others might overlook. They called it trash. But in the right hands, it became a fairy tale. Eight. Bamboo arch harvest fence. They called it trash. Bent bamboo poles, once tossed aside after scaffolding jobs or forgotten in a corner of an old shed, were never meant to bloom. But someone saw more. In the quiet of a small backyard, they were lifted and bound together again, curved into arches, tied with jute twine, and planted into rich, willing soil. And then it grew. Not just plants, though those came swiftly, curling tendrils of cucumber climbing toward the sky, baby pumpkins suspended like lanterns, grapes hanging in little green clusters that danced in the breeze. Beneath the arch, the ground swelled with edible joy, rows of spinach, wild kale, fragrant herbs, and even strawberries that blushed at the morning sun. But more than that, a dream began to bloom. What was once a humble fence became a tunnel of life. A living structure. A gentle, green cathedral whispering stories of patience, care, and rebirth. Light dappled through the leaves above, casting lace-like shadows on the path below. Butterflies came. Birds perched. And somewhere between the rows of oregano and the swing of pumpkin vines, the magic happened, not only in the plants, but in the people who passed beneath it. You don't need a sprawling estate to build this kind of wonder. Just old bamboo, a few hours under the sun, and the will to see beauty where others see waste. Start with a simple arch. Bend the bamboo with care and tie it with natural twine or wire. Plant climbing vegetables or flowering vines at the base, beans, squash, cucumbers, or even sweet peas. Add a gravel path or a bench if you like. Let time do the rest. And remember, every archway begins as a simple line. Every garden starts with one seed. So next time you see something broken, curved, or forgotten, pause. You might just be looking at the beginning of a backyard fairy tale. Nine. Palette Wonderland Edging. There's a kind of quiet magic that happens when discarded wood is given a second chance. At the edge of a sun-kissed garden, worn palette slats, once bound for the trash, now rise in gentle curves, reborn as the border of a living paradise. Their soft hues of natural grain and whitewash blend effortlessly with the soil, catching golden light in their ridges and grooves. But this isn't just a fence. It's a tapestry of purpose and possibility. Nestled within its folds, the cabbages unfurl like secret roses, their jade leaves cupped toward the sky. Bright red lettuce and gentle mustard greens push through the earth, full of life and flavor. Tiny pots of blueberry bushes sit like sentinels atop the pallet rails, their fruits shimmering like forest jewels. In the early hours, before the world stirs, you can almost hear the leaves rustling like whispered lullabies from the soil below. One step further, and the fence itself begins to speak. Hand-painted words, grow, hope, joy, are nailed onto the wooden boards like quiet prayers left out in the sun. Baby carrots peek out from between the slats, while sunflowers and marigolds stretch their golden heads toward the light. A breeze carries the scent of dill and lemon balm, and bees float lazily between blooms, never in a hurry, always home. In another corner, the pallets form a low embrace around raised beds of greens. Broccoli heads stand proudly in their tin pails, like sentries guarding a feast. Strawberry baskets hang between posts, bursting with color and sweetness. A single checkered blanket lies draped on a nearby bench, potatoes beside it as if someone had just paused to rest, or maybe to listen to the soft hum of nature growing all around. Morning dew clings to spiderweb spun across the wooden ribs, catching sunlight like silver threads. Butterflies dip and flit across the kale rows, and for a moment, the world feels still, as if this little garden has stepped out of time. And yet, none of this was bought from a catalogue. None of it was expensive. It was made, hand-placed, thoughtfully imagined from the very things others left behind. So if you're dreaming of a backyard that feels like a secret fairy tale, don't look at what you lack. Look at what you already have. A broken palette, a patch of earth, a little hope. Start small. Let it grow. Because sometimes, the most beautiful gardens are born from what others forgot. "10. Fairy gourd gate with mosaic shards. Beneath the soft golden light of early morning, where the dew clings gently to leaves and every breath feels like a whisper from the earth, something unexpected begins to bloom, not just vegetables, but a dream, hand-built from what others threw away. At first glance, it might seem like any other garden gate. But look closer, and you'll see, this is no ordinary entrance. It's a threshold to wonder, crafted from forgotten fragments of the past and living vines of the present. One arch is wrapped in cascading gourd leaves, where giant striped labu dangle like enchanted lanterns. Beneath them, the pathway gleams with a mosaic of broken dishes, mirrors, and weathered tiles, each piece a memory reimagined. What once was discarded china now catches the morning sun like scattered stardust. Every step through this arch tells a story of rebirth, of transformation. A plate becomes a mirror. A gate becomes a canvas. A garden becomes magic. In another corner, a sturdier wooden arch is framed by vibrant mosaics of blue and green, bursting like constellations across aged planks. Pumpkins nestle at the base, their bright orange skin a cheerful contrast to the roughness of the materials. Wreaths made from painted seeds and pottery shards hang on either side like sacred symbols of harvest and care. And up above, squash vines curve over the top, as if nature herself reached out to complete the design. And then, there's the floral arch. Not in petals, but in porcelain. Each tiny shard laid with care, forming blossoms that never wilt. Vines of bitter melon and snake gourd weave through its curves, a living crown on a throne of trash-turned treasure. Hanging from it are dried pods and fruits, soft brown, vibrant green, swaying in the breeze like nature's wind chimes. Just beyond, rows of fruit trees stretch into the distance, heavy with lemon and guava, each tree lined up like guardians of this sacred space. But this isn't just beauty. It's a practical guidebook hidden in plain sight. Here, we're reminded that broken things can be beautiful again. That you don't need money or perfection to build something extraordinary, only patience, imagination, and a love for growing things. Cracked plates become art. Old wood becomes sanctuary. Vines become allies. If you're dreaming of your own backyard fairy tale, start with what you have. Walk around your home. Pick up the chipped mug, the broken frame, the lonely tile from an old box. Save them. Let your garden tell their story. Every gate shown here wasn't bought, it was built. Every mosaic laid by hand. Every vine trained with quiet care. This is DIY not as a trend, but as a return to heart, to home, to the slow, sacred joy of creating something out of nothing. So take a breath. Step outside. The magic isn't in the materials. It's in the way you see them. And who knows, the next time someone says that's just trash, you might smile and say, not yet. Because maybe, just maybe, your fairy tale garden is already waiting. If this inspired you even a little, hit that like button and help us spread this green magic. Got questions or your own garden transformation to share? Drop it in the comments, we reply to everyone. And if you believe trash can become treasure, consider subscribing. Because this is just the beginning.